Okay. Guys, do we have some questions, regarding, for example,
We do
Dominic and
have a
stuff like
question
that,
here from Peter. Was it Peter Kosh? I guess, but I can't read it.
Ah, with the Zeminskis,
There
yes.
it is.
Do you think if the Zeminskis were working with or encouraging Rosenbaum to attack or attract Kyle Rittenhouse, that it could be a felony murder charge?
No. The reason why is felony murder in Wisconsin can only be based on very specific things. And I
Okay.
don't think that any of the actions satisfy that, although I could be wrong. But I think I looked into that at one point in the past and decided that no. But it's not true that if you commit a felony and a person dies as a result of it, that you're going to go up against a felony murder charge. It has to be a certain felony. And I
Okay.
don't think that it applies here.
Yes. Could I just quickly
By the
explain
way,
to the audience
I will say
what?
this: he shouldn't be. I'm sorry. I'm tired of this felony murder crap. I really am. For example,
Hmm.
and I talked about this last night. And got in an argument with strategic guys over it, and the whole idea that one of the
Gonna
third
have to
dude
watch it.
there in the was it the shooting of
Uh-huh.
Ahmed Arbery? Okay, the third dude got life in prison. He didn't kill anybody. He didn't try to kill anybody, and there's no evidence he wanted anybody dead. And to put a person in prison for life under those circumstances, to me, it's insane. I didn't disagree with necessarily the actual verdicts, except the felony murder charge. I'm not a fan of it. But the sentencing was ridiculous. I mean, this is political again. Under normal circumstances, he would not have been given a life sentence. He was given a life sentence because it was the Ahmaud Arbery case, and I really reject that. And I have my local lawyers series, and I'm diving more and more into the legal profession here. And in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
now we need to remove sentencing away from judges. They cannot be trusted to do this reasonably. There should be a panel and people, and
Yeah.
you throw out the high and you throw out the low.
We have it, that you have a senate of judges, that vote on that. And as far as I know, I would have too. Yeah, it's, oh my god, it's so long from high school, for me, where we were taught this, so I could be getting this wrong. But we have it that you have a senate of judges that vote on it and basically come to a conclusion, and you don't know who voted for what, so you cannot pin. If you are not happy with a sentence, you cannot pin it, on a certain, on any specific judge, and be like, oh yeah. So they have a certain, they are to a degree free of political influences,
I mean, it's gotten out of hand. You go to one part of the country and the dude gets 6 months. You go to another part of the country and he gets life. And we've had this problem for
Right.
forever. And yeah, I know a lot of people say, well, what about blacks in the 1960s? Yeah, they got victimized by it too. And there's no need. And this whole idea somehow, well, we need to put this guy in for life because of all the injustices of the past.
Oh
Ridiculous
my god,
argument.
yeah,
Ridiculous argument.
absolutely. We try to keep it on the topic. I just want to quickly address say basically one thing. When it comes to the white privilege, what I often hear, and one of the things that people say is white privilege is not being afraid that I will get shot on a traffic stop, for example, right? And well, not here, but let's say in the United States, if I would be, because I'm white. Okay, here's the problem. If you call it a privilege, privilege can be taken away. So even if you might have a point, yeah, that black people, for example, get shot more often, even if that's true, I will just, for the sake of my self-interest, fight to the death, that it is not called privilege, because again, privilege just can be taken away. And what we are basically arguing for is not elevating people of color up so they feel safe, but it is to bring me down. And I will not allow that. Yeah, if you would, instead we could agree on, for example, person of color disadvantage, just that, and I'm sorry, this is like diplomacy 101, guys, holy shit, this is, you're so bad at this, whoever came up with that.
Yeah, I mean, and often they say, well, this is an example of white privilege. And then you can say, no, there was another example here where the races were switched. It happens all the time. Ahmaud, the whole deal with Rayshard Brooks, right? He got shot by police because he grabbed a taser and fired at the police officers. They're saying, the police officers enjoying their white privilege. But on my channel, I have a video of a white sovereign citizen getting the cop just pressed her gun in the guy's stomach and shot him. And almost the same kind of circumstances,
Yeah. And I must say that was the recent shooting of the person in disabled in the wheelchair, right? Have you seen that? Holy where he's going, he has the person, he was accused of shoplifting, and he's pursued by two police officers on foot, one male, one female, and he's rolling into another shop or something like that. He has a knife over, in his hand, over his lap, whatever. But he's, moving at a walking pace. You know what I mean? On this electric disability scooter or whatever. Like a wheelchair. And there's no one that the person, the suspect, can threaten, and the police officer literally shoots him 7 times point blank before basically any warning. And the final shot, he literally pauses for a second, takes better aim, and takes the final shot. Obviously killing that man.
That's an assassination there.
Yeah, literally. And here's my point here. Why is not BLM or others basically being like, holy shit, do you see, this is exactly the problem we are talking about? It literally serves their agenda, what they claim they are fighting for. And yet, nothing.
Okay, so what were the races involved in that? I didn't...
everybody white.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone white. And that's because... There's the stupidity of. I'm sorry. I will say this. BLM is incredibly stupid organization. Fucking Christ. If I would be head over that, I would have already solved everything. Everyone's happy. We go home. With the backing. They don't have anything. Just strategy is wrong. From the top. To just execution. It's just that you don't. Have a movement like that. For a social change. Anywho. They could literally point to that, because that's terrible, and they could be they could use that. They don't. Why? Because, fuck white people, I guess.
Well, I mean, there's an example, a perfect example here, what happened in Houston, where 2 police officers decided to fake a warrant so they could invade a home. They created a fake informant. They claimed that there was an informant that had bought drugs. There never was any. And they go in, they invaded the guy's house. They ended up shooting him and his wife and his dog. And they're white. And the 2 police officers that pulled this thing off were black. Now, Breonna Taylor, they're almost the same, but the races are reversed. But, and again, there you go. Almost any kind of event, horrific event, where that involves a black victim, something probably very similar has happened to a white victim. It's just you don't hear about it. And there are no, in fact, I can't even think of the names of the people that were involved in that shooting, whereas Breonna Taylor came up right away to me. And they have statues of her, they have all that kind of stuff going on. Nobody remembers these 2 poor bastards in Houston. And by the way, the 2 police officers are being charged. And I should be careful. The one officer did it. The other one covered it up for him. So, there you go.
And one more thing is that for example, what is criminally underreported is when a person of color, for example, legally defends themselves, justifiably, with a firearm. And we've seen that, if Kyle was black, he would get shot. But really? Should we? Because, if you, if you give me a second, I actually can write up, example because there is a problem, and it just if you show it to people, for example, the argument that Kyle was Mr. Rosenbaum, the first person that Kyle shot, he was unarmed, therefore Kyle is guilty of, you know what I mean, it just falls apart instantly when you show it. Show them.
These same people are all about being in favor of the police officer who shot that woman in the January 6th deal. She was armed. So is it really the arming of the person that matters?
Yeah, 100%. So I hope
coming
you can
in right now who are going to be all of the problems. The guy without his shirt on there is the one who's going to really be the problems. And I'm going to speed things up. I'm trying to compress about a 15-minute video down here for you so that it's not too cumbersome. And here is going to be our defender here. This young man comes in here and he is armed with a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson. According to the news link, you can go and read all about it. And these guys are just going and doing their thing. And now these white guys come up and start hurling some racial epithets at these guys and calling them some nasty names. And now this guy in white, he's offering to apologize. And the guy says, no, I don't want your apologies. And when he does, the guy punches him in the face. So now this gentleman in the white shirt here, he goes ahead and backs up and draws his firearm, and he's just going to back off from these guys because he doesn't want to have any more problems. And boy, I got to tell you, that's pretty admirable against that big group. But now the little guy decides he's going to come in, and the defender there put 3 shots in him, 1, 2, 3, and you see how that happens, how fast he had to back up, put 3 shots. The guy decided to do something else, and they run off. If you read the news story, they drove off, and that guy ended up dying of his injuries. And here now what we see our defender get on the phone with 911. He calls the 911 operator, tells him what's going on, and says that he's going to put his gun down on the counter. You can see it there on the counter, and that they'll find him, on the ground when the police officers get there. And that's exactly what's going to happen. He goes ahead and gets on the ground. And because he's been on the phone with 911, because they know who he is, what he looks like, and all that, the police officers come in cool and collected, and everybody's okay. And this guy, they're going to take him into custody briefly. And of course, he's not charged because this was a defensive shooting. Boy.
So, by the way, if you want to know, this is from Active Self-Protection channel. He recently did on Carl Rittenhouse incident in a video analysis. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I mean, technically he could have opened fire immediately. You'd say, well, they're unarmed, but there's 3 of them or 2 of them at least.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, even if a person is unarmed, okay, well, how good is gun for you if you are K'd out on the ground, unconscious, so.
Yeah, and I have a video on all the various provocation dealios, but none of them would have applied here. I think in any state, he could have probably opened fire on those guys and been good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And
he did
you
exactly as you're supposed to do it.
Precisely. By the way, the reason also is why he stayed there and he didn't run away is because the other party left. Therefore, he was not in the danger zone. He didn't have to evacuate, basically run away or something like that, because plenty of people said Kyle, was guilty because he ran away, and it's just like, oh my God.
And you know what? First of all, we all know, although I say all, not everybody, but it's pretty obvious that if let's say you commit a crime.
Hello? Sorry.
Or you've committed another crime. It doesn't happen like that because we have a 5th Amendment. You're not required to incriminate yourself. And so Kyle, even if he felt he had committed a crime, he is under no obligation to stay there. And also, I would also point out that Crystal Kaiser, after she shot Randall Volar, she left. She stole his car, drove off. Is she now guilty?
Yeah, and again, double standards. Yeah,
you're going to have this double standard come in. When it comes to Crystal Kaiser, they're going to say, well, you can't hold that against her. Well, you certainly had no trouble holding it against Kyle. Go ahead.
I wonder if the boyfriend that gave Crystal the pistol will be facing some repercussions.
That's another question. My understanding of it is that the boyfriend gave her the pistol. She, I think, claimed at one time that Randall Volar did, but I find that hard to believe. I think that was a cover-up. And keep in mind, that boyfriend has not been charged from what I understand. I don't know why. That was a gun given to a minor. That's a federal offense.
Mm-hmm.
So...
and that is an interesting question. Why the feds didn't get involved in this?
Well, the
Yeah,
only
I'm
time the
just
feds
saying.
would have been involved in that would be with the giving of a pistol to a minor.
That's what I meant, you know.